USA middle class is shrinking. Here's the proof for decades. The American dream followed a simple formula. Work hard, earn a stable income, buy a home, raise a family, save for retirement. That lifestyle was called middle class, and for a long time, it was the backbone of the United States economy. But today, a growing number of Americans are asking a serious question. Is the middle class disappearing? Let's look at the facts. First, what exactly is the middle class? Economists usually define middle-class households as those earning roughly 2/3 to 2 times the median household income. In simple terms, it means families that are not poor, not rich, but living in the financial middle, paying bills, saving a little, and expecting a stable future. Now, here's where the story changes. In 1971, about 61% of Americans were part of the middle class. That meant most people lived a broadly similar lifestyle: stable jobs, rising wages, and affordable living costs. Fast forward to today. By the early 2000s, only around 50% of Americans remain in the middle class. That drop may sound small, but in reality, it represents tens of millions of people moving either upward into higher income groups or downward into financial insecurity. But population share is only part of the story. The more important question is, how much of the nation's total income does the middle class earn? In 1970, middle-class households earned about 62% of all income in the United States. They held the majority of the country's earning power. Today, that number has fallen to roughly 43%. Meanwhile, upper-income households now take more than half of total national income. In simple words, the middle class is getting a smaller slice of the economic pie, while the top earners get a bigger one. That is one of the clearest signs of rising income inequality. But statistics alone don't show daily reality. So let's look at real-life affordability. Even families who are technically middle class are struggling to afford basic needs. Housing costs have exploded in most American cities. Healthcare premiums and medical bills keep rising. College tuition has multiplied over the past few decades. Childcare costs are among the highest in the world, and everyday essentials like groceries and utilities continue getting more expensive. Studies show that in many cities, at least 1 in 5 middle-income households cannot afford local living costs without cutting corners or taking on debt. This situation is often called the middle-class squeeze. People earn decent salaries on paper, but after rent or mortgage, insurance, childcare, food, transportation, and loan payments, there's very little left. Many households live paycheck to paycheck, even with incomes that were once considered comfortable. So why is this happening? There are 3 major reasons. First, wage growth for middle-class workers has been slow. While productivity and corporate profits have risen, average wages have not increased at the same pace. Second, the cost of living has risen faster than salaries. Housing, healthcare, and education have all grown more expensive than inflation over the long term. Third, income growth has been concentrated at the top. High-income earners and asset owners benefit more from stock market growth, real estate appreciation, and business profits. The result is a widening gap between the top and the middle. Some economists argue the middle class isn't disappearing. It's transforming. A portion of former middle-class households have moved into upper-middle or high-income groups. But at the same time, many others have moved downward, struggling with debt, unstable employment, and rising expenses. Either way, the balance of society has shifted. The middle class used to be the majority. Now it is shrinking. So what does this mean for the future? A strong middle class supports consumer spending, home ownership, education, and social stability. When the middle class weakens, economic growth becomes less balanced, and financial stress increases. This isn't just a political debate or a social media opinion. The data shows clear long-term changes. Fewer Americans are middle class. The middle class earns a smaller share of national income, and rising living costs continue to pressure household finances. That is the reality behind the headlines. So the real question is, will the middle class rebuild its strength in the coming years, or continue to shrink further? Let me know what you think. If you found this breakdown useful, support the channel by liking and subscribing, and stay tuned for more simple explanations of complex economic truths.